Erev Shabbat Shalom Rabotai. We are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Nedarim. We are up to Perek Tet Mishnah Zayin. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana Ranbayev, Eliyahu ben Burcha Yisraelo ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Avdi ben Chaim lechaim v'derefua shelemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, Betoch Shar Cholei Yisrael. Rabbi Akiva stated at the end of the previous Mishnah that a neder annulled in part is automatically annulled in its entirety. Our Mishnah elaborates upon Rabbi Akiva's rule. Ketzad, how so? When do we apply this rule? Amar, if someone said to a group of people, Konam sheni ne'eleh lechulchem, Konam, that I will not have benefit from any of you, Hutar echad mehen, if one of them becomes permitted, meaning if the neder is annulled with respect to one member of the group, for example, he discovered that his father was a member of the group and he then indicated that he had not meant for his father to be included in the neder. In this case, the neder is automatically void with regard to his father because the father's inclusion was a mistake. Huteru kulan, all of them become permitted. The neder is annulled with respect to them all, and the one who made the neder may benefit from any member of the group because a neder annulled in part is annulled in its entirety. Now, the rule that a partially annulled neder is completely annulled applies both to a neder that was partially annulled by a sage by using an opening, as in the previous Mishnah, and to a neder that was partially annulled automatically, as in our Mishnah's case. However, the law is different, where he said, Konam, that I will not have benefit from this person and that person, and so on. He mentioned each member of the group separately, and he said that the second person is forbidden like the first person, and the third is forbidden like the second, etc. In this case, we do not apply the rule that a neder that is annulled partly is annulled entirely. Rather, the laws are as follows. Hutar rishon utru chulan. If the first person became permitted, meaning the neder was annulled with respect to him, all of them become permitted, since he said that the second person should be forbidden like the first one, and the third like the second one. If the first one becomes permitted, so do all of them. Now, when the neder regarding the first person is annulled, it is as though that person was never forbidden to him. Annulment works retroactively. Therefore, since he said that the second person should be forbidden like the first one, and the first one is permitted, the second one automatically becomes permitted as well, and so on for the third person and beyond. Hutar ha'acharon, but if the last one becomes permitted, ha'acharon mutar v'chulan asurin, only the last one is permitted, and all the rest of them remain forbidden because their prohibition do not depend on the last one's prohibition. Hutar ha'emtzai, if one of the people in the middle becomes permitted, hemenu ulmata mutar, those mentioned from him and below, meaning after him, also become permitted. Hemenu ulmala asu, but anyone from him and above, meaning before him, remains forbidden. The rule that a neder annulled in part is annulled completely does not apply here because it is relevant only to a single neder that has several parts. When one part of a single neder is annulled, the other parts are as well. But in the Mishnah's case, the person made a series of separate nedarim. Since each neder is separate from the other, the annulment of one does not affect another unless he had linked them by saying like. Another case in which Rabbi Akiva's rule does not apply, she'eni ne'ena lazeh korban v'lazeh korban. If someone said the benefit I receive from this person is like a korban to me, and the benefit I receive from that person is like a korban to me, and so on, we require a separate opening for each and every one of them. Since he said a korban regarding each person separately, he indicates that each is bound by a separate neder, and a separate neder requires its own annulment. Now, in the Mishnah's previous case, although he did not repeat the word konam or korban, he's considered to have made several separate nedarim, since he said this one is forbidden like this one regarding each person. And the Rav tells us, v'chen halakha, this is the halakha. I'm sorry, actually, the Rav does tell us that that is the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. The Chachamim say a different opinion. The halakha follows the opinion of the Chachamim. We continue now with Mishnah Chet. The Mishnah gives more examples of Rabbi Akiva's rule that once a neder is annulled in part, it is annulled completely. Konam yain sheni toem shayain ra lame'ayim. Someone said konam, that I will not taste wine because wine is bad for the stomach. Amrulo v'alo miyushan yafeh lame'ayim. And then people told him, but aged wine, miyushan refers to wine that is aged at least 2 years and is now in its third year, as the Mishnah says in Baba Batra, chapter 6, Mishnah 3. If people then told him aged wine is good for the stomach, if upon hearing this he regrets the neder, meaning he said, had I known this, I would have not made the neder, or had I known this, I would have said that new wine is forbidden to me while old wine remains permitted, Hutar bam yushan, he becomes permitted to drink aged wine because his neder was based on a mistake. the neder is automatically permitted even without being annulled by a sage, since he intended only to prohibit wine that was harmful to the stomach, and that does not apply to aged wine. His neder was made in error and does not require annulment. And he becomes permitted to drink not only aged wine, but also all of the types of wine, because the neder was annulled in part, is annulled entirely. In a similar case, Konam batzal sheni tuem shabatzal ral alev. Someone said Konam that I will not taste onions because onions are bad for the heart. Amrulo avalo hakufri yafer alev. And then people told him, but the village onion, the type of onion that grows in villages, is good for the heart. If upon hearing this neder he regrets the neder utar bakufri, he becomes permitted to eat the village onion because his neder was made in error. And he becomes permitted to eat not only the village onion, but also all of the types of onions, because a neder that was annulled in part is annulled entirely. And the Mishnah relates that this very situation actually happened. There was an incident where someone prohibited himself to eat onions because he thought that all onions are harmful to the heart. Rabbi Meir permitted him to eat all types of onions, based on the above rule that a neder that is partly annulled is entirely annulled. And that is on the bottom of today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have an Erev Shabbat Shalom. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.